Hello everybody, my name is Lumo, former Tully Monster, current serial shitposter, aspiring Haru rank 10 enjoyer. I want to make video games, but this takes time and effort. So now I live by waking up at the ass crack of dawn to violently thrash at my computer in order to further my skills as a developer and further wither my remaining sense of self. The current project we're working on right now is a 3D collectathon platformer inspired by Resident Harem Homie, Rimuru Tempest. You are a little slime and you must collect. But what you collect is as of yet undecided and the why has been left for another date. Procrastination is my sin and I have no intention to visit a confession booth again. Not after last time. So this month, I kept it simple and aligned to 4 moderate-sounding tasks that we would rip through with all the force of an Aerith Gainsborough cosplayer on a poor, unsuspecting, innocent Cloud cosplayer, weighed down by both his sword and the memories of the horrible, unspeakable, and inexcusable war crimes he committed in Libya. But this is a collectathon, a game about collecting things, and we've nary a coin nor waifu available within our game. So that's where we'll start today. We need a few things. A low-tier collectible, think notes, and a high-tier collectible, think jiggies. Each serves its own purpose, own unique role, each providing a unique talent to serve their glorious United Soviet state. Higher tiers are long-term goals you can see from far away. They're commonly your main reason to break into your ex's house and route around for goodies. Lower tiers of collectibles tend to be related to your abilities or score. Small breadcrumbs used to guide the player through the level. I mean this with no malice. A lot of people are not very smart and need to be guided through levels. Not everyone is like this, but I would rather people play my game and have fun rather than be confused by design that's far too open and non-linear. We're making discount Banjo-Kazooie here, people, not discount Breath of the Wild. Lower tiers are what is important today, because I haven't spent enough time naked and wet in the shower to come up with a concrete idea of the higher beings I want you to collect for me. So let's discuss the opciones. I had a couple of ideas, things that were as relevant to slimes as music notes are to a bear named Band Punished Joe. I thought about medals, scraps of a body pillow, the chaos emeralds, and eventually I settled on flowers. We're going for a painterly aesthetic, and in case you don't know, I'm an artist. So I shit out a flower model and oh, it's beautiful. I want to detail without detailing it with too many maps and too many polygons. So it's just an ionosphere, read funny dice that you subhuman goblins seem to love, that I've just painted over. Picking an ionosphere, however, had its difficulties. You see, I use a program called 3D Coat to do hand painting on 3D models, which has an amazing symmetry mode and is used by at least one singular artist on the World of Warcraft team. However, unlike its sister, the UV sphere, which has an even face distribution, the ionosphere does not. So every attempt at painting a nice pattern over the top was foiled by difficult to grasp concepts like object permanence and spatial reasoning. The whole process of painting took maybe half an hour, and while I was unsatisfied with the result, we have a collectible object. I splashed some color on it to break up the shapes and began the finishing touches. After all it needed was some feedback. Some people call this game feel, others game juice. Myself? Why, this is simply the sauce. It's the secret that makes games the dopamine factories that they are. What feels better? Your sword aimlessly passing through something and a damage number popping up? Or watching a sword get stuck in the visceral meaty flesh of some poor unsuspecting owl as damage numbers assault your eyes like drunken college students assaulting a food truck in the middle of the night? I whipped up a quick particle system in Unreal's Niagara particle systems. That doesn't roll off the tongue as well. And boom, there you go. We have our low-tier collectible. It's beautiful, and with just a little bit of wiring, we got us some nice, squishy, delicious, and potentially poisonous flowers. I hope you're ready to collect 100 of these little bastards. From there, it became time to work on making the slime feel more like a slime. Currently, the animations feel disjointed, disgusting, and most importantly, not slime-like at all. We've got that bouncy walk cycle that doesn't look too good coming out of every animation, but most importantly, the jump just looks sad. It lacks any sort of feedback, impact, or consistency with the rest of the animations, especially the falling. We're a lad made of goop, which meant it was time for some programming. So what's the game plan? Easy. We're gonna make it so when the slime jumps, the animations for jumping and falling align to our velocity. How do you get velocity? Like this. If you wanted a more detailed breakdown on what I'm doing, you'd have subscribed to my Patreon already. Now we have a pretty line being drawn in the direction our slime ought to be facing. Now all we have to do is make it so the model updates along the path and oh god! Why are you facing upwards? No matter. All we have to do is rotate the animations and that should take care of it, and boom, there we go. Now it's following that vertical line property. Except when it lands, it rotates at a 90-degree angle to run sideways bad, as opposed to landing and being properly oriented. Good. Alright, so we have to fix it. Obviously we have to fix it. In order to get the slime to orient itself properly, I'll just throw a 90-degree rotation on the model, which should correct the issue, and yes, there we go. We have the slime buddy moving properly now, although the game registers the orientation of the model incorrectly. Whatever. If it looks functional, then nobody will know. right? Except everyone will know because now something else has stopped working. Now, when the slime lands on the ground, it rotates 90 degrees into the ground on an axis I am not even touching in the code because it simply desires to. This programming is Satan. I started this one on the 11th, and this one small thing took up 90% of my developing time this month. So I came up with a theory. A lot of my animations were at weird rotations because Unreal animates along the Y positive axis. 3D programs have not standardized these sorts of things yet, so let me explain really quick. Every 3D program has an axis that is forward, up, and right. So for Unreal, X is right, Y is forward, Z is up. But for Unity, X is right, Z is forward, and Y is up. Are you still with me? Because I lost myself a while ago. So to correct this issue, I thought that because our walking animation was incorrectly rotated, this may cause an issue. So I remade the walking animation and the falling and the jumping animations to all be Y positive, as all of these animations were incorrectly authored on Y negative, meaning they played aimed at the camera as opposed to away from the camera. Not only did they start moving sideways again, but the issue was still happening. All right. My mom always said I was a smart boy and very handsome. Please, someone just respond to me and Tinder. No, I can do this. I can make this happen. At least that's what I said before Unreal did a sick front flip before slam dunking my self-confidence baby out of my hands. I rotated everything by 90 degrees upon landing and it looked okay now. Except it was still rotating into the ground. What do I have to do to appease you, Tim Sweetie? What black magic do I need to use? If it wasn't the animations, what was it? What detail was I missing? I pored over the ancient texts, very spooky, to try and discover what sort of hellish checkbox I had missed somewhere. I found almost nothing online. I was entirely on my own, floating in an ocean of despair, trying to debug a niche issue that I was only noticing because I was staring at this for hours. What could it be? And then I had a horrible realization. A cold sweat at 4 a.m. jolted me into consciousness. I opened my iPad and feverishly typed out my solution before returning to my free trial of death. I woke the next morning with little memory of what had transpired the night before. I opened my iPad for my daily perusing of the internet hellscape known as Twitter, and saw the Notes app open. I reread what the madman had typed earlier and understood what I must do. You see, I was right, in a sense. The rotation into the ground was due to incorrectly authored animation, which happens. I am new to game animation, and this is taking time and effort. So what was going wrong? You see, when the player hit the ground, its rotation was still whatever it was prior to contact, and upon hitting the ground, it would even out back to normal. So it had to rotate all the way around to be congruent with the floor and the player rotation and change between animations. So it had to rotate 3 times in rapid succession, which caused this bizarre sideways ground clip issue. So I attempted to fix this with some crafty programming. When you're close to the ground, I dictated, please, for the love of God, just even out before hitting the ground. Unreal simply looked at this demand, guffawed ungraciously, and then promptly threw a burning bag of dog shit at my house. It didn't work, which led me to the worst solution of all. I had to remake every animation on the X positive axis rather than Y positive. But why, you ask, confused and somewhat aroused by the sheer level of determination on display. Why is that necessary? Easy. We're rotating by 90 degrees to make sure the animations work. If we correct every animation to be X positive, we can remove that 90-degree rotation, thus removing another point of failure. It was worth a shot because I have 2 other features to do this month, and this has literally taken a week of development at this point. So I remade every animation, and holy shit, it finally works. It looks alright. It looks good even. It had a couple of issues, but in remaking the falling and jumping animation again, those were corrected. We had successfully beaten back the demon that is animation errors. I'd wanted these to be dynamic and physics driven, but the skeleton doesn't allow for that, and good enough is good enough for me at this point. Perfectionism is the death of indie products. With my brain small, my meat huge, my pain endless, I tread onwards. You see, collectathons have enemies, and you can attack enemies. However, we are a very small, cute lad with no baked-in combat abilities. What are we supposed to do in the face of immeasurable odds? How can we beat anything when we lack combat abilities? I decided it was time to tackle our last notable task for the month. I'm stealing from a series known for its consistent and good quality, Sonic T. Hedgehog. So here's the plot. A little slime friend launches itself at an enemy, homes in, and bounces off them. Seems easy, yeah? Yeah, about that. I sat down last Saturday to tackle this issue and began shifting through the Unreal forums. I searched and searched for somebody who had done something similar. I found a lot of vector math, but nothing concrete, and decided, yeah, I can do this myself. I already had a little slime friend turning with velocity. What if I just continuously updated that velocity based off of a target and then had them move towards it? It seemed like a plausible idea. Since you could only detect enemies in a straight line anyway, the math couldn't be too hard, right? right? I got to work. The numbers formed in front of my eyes like some sort of shit-tier BBC show. My neurons firing with an activity rate not seen since I decided to get an art degree. I could see through the math, through all the struggles, the trials, the tribulations associated with being a solo indie dev. The power, the lines, the sphere traces. I knew what I had to do to make this work. And so, I gave up. Instead, look at this funky fresh bullshit I cobbled together. I did the most game dev thing out there. Our character is so simple that instead of doing the work, I can simply lie to you and make it seem impressive. Why would I waste time turning a character into a projectile via obscene amounts of math when I can just spawn a projectile using a character model as the bullet, tape our actual character to that, and then just turn the character invisible? And so that's what I did. And if it weren't for the color shift or me telling you, you'd probably never know. It's beautiful, artistic even. It brings a tear to my eye just looking at it go. It's got some issues, but it's a solid starting point. And let's just look at our ClickUp list. It's beautiful. It's all clear. We did it. We got everything done for this month besides the art test. We succeeded.